All right, so we're up to A number 41, which is Mamido al Ha'emes, living in reality. So, really, what it means is setting a person to the truth, right? We shouldn't live a life filled with illusions, and so we have to get rooted in truth and set other people into truth. Um, so, number one of this is to tackle the root of the problem. So, we all try to help somebody who has an issue or a problem. Person's muddled, depressed, I'm no good, I'm weak, I'm nothing. You support them, you encourage them, you get them ready to tackle the challenges, you feel good you've made a difference in their life. The next morning, they're at it again. So the problem is you really didn't set them firmly into reality. You did a patch job and the patch fell off. So to align someone with reality, you have to look beyond cosmetic solutions and get to the actual root of the problem. Find the gap in knowledge or understanding that's causing them to feel a certain way and help them get around it and release their potential and get moving in the right direction. So, for example, imagine a father of a teenage son is bothered that he doesn't listen to his advice. There's constant tension, there's fighting between the two. The father ultimately has no way to communicate with that son, right? So what can you do to suggest to the father, right? So one suggestion you might make to the father is what rarely works is telling people what to do. What more often works is showing them the better path, right? Leading by example, modeling the behavior that you think is important to them and explaining to them why it's beneficial to them. Now, the flip side of that is now you're talking to the son. What do you say to the son? The son says, my father hates me. He just wants to torture me, right? You ask the son, well, let me ask you something. Imagine you're backpacking through Europe and you get hit by a car, right? You wind up in a hospital flat on your back. Who's going to fly 5,000 miles to ensure that you're getting the best possible treatment in the world? Right? You know who that is. That's your father. So what does your father really want? He wants what's best for you. Right? So what you just did there on both sides is to kind of assess what the core underlying issue is and help them create a new reality. Now they may not remember it every time, but it might be that momentary pause between, something that the father's about to say where he thinks to himself, is there a better way to put it? And the child's reaction to my father just hates me, and looking at it from the perspective of, that's not really the accurate picture of things. So understanding people's challenges and helping them solve them is a difficult endeavor. It's worth the time, patience, and commitment to get it right. So number two of this is personal problem solving. So in order to get other people into reality, you need to be a truth seeker and eliminate your own fuzziness too. So one way to do this is to make a list of some of the primary challenges that you see holding you back. Select a couple of them and use tools like we talked about, the 5 why tool. Why am I challenged by this? And then keep asking why until you get to the root cause. As just one example of a tool to help you get there. Take those challenges that are holding you back and analyze the root causes and then try to solve for them. Understand, of course, in this endeavor that objectivity is really critical. So you have to find a way to remove the ego or the circumstantial factors from the picture and try and get to reality. So one interesting aspect is that oftentimes helping other people solve their challenges gives you an insight into reality. I had this experience recently with a friend. In talking through something that they were going through, it actually enlightened me on a way to deal with a challenge that I really hadn't taken on myself. Another really important aspect here is to understand the difference between relative versus absolute truth. One of the greatest obstacles facing today's generation is the idea, the notion that there are no absolute truths. Everyone is right, it's just one opinion against another. So we make peace with living in confusion. Many people think that relative truth actually creates open-mindedness. I'm not fixed on a single idea or a concept. I don't believe that my way is the only way. But the truth is, the late Professor Alan Bloom wrote in his book, The Closing of the American Mind, that what actually is going on within this idea of relative truth is a closed-mindedness, because it stops people from actually seeking wisdom and truth. So many people just stop looking for the absolute truth because they assume that everything is just an opinion. So what happens is they only dig one layer deep. And when you only dig one layer deep, you get closed-minded around a non-truth that you have now taken to be your opinion's truth. And that's a very, very dangerous path, and we've seen in the world what that leads to. So obviously it's our job to fight the insanity. Truth exists. Either God exists or he doesn't exist. Pick a side. Both can't be true, right? So it's absurd to think that the truth regarding his existence is relative. Your truth, you're going to speak your truth that he doesn't exist, I'm going to speak my truth that he does, right? Either the other person's making a mistake or you're making a mistake. So which is right? Search diligently and honestly and find the evidence for one way or another. Think things through and then decide where the truth lays. So, for instance, a great tool that Rav Noach uses, which is amazing. Imagine, you have 5 fingers, right? And somebody comes along and says, no, you have 7 fingers. You're going to fight them tooth and nail, right? Because, hello, 5 fingers, right? I know I have 5 fingers. So we should all try to get to 5-finger clarity on the important issues in life. A level of clarity where no matter what someone says or does, they're not going to shake my conviction that I know the truth. So a couple of ideas for applied wisdom. One is make a list of your core challenges, figure out some root problems associated with them, and then work towards solving them. And 2 of this is tackle the challenge that someone you are close with is facing. You'll see that as you work them through the process, you'll gain insights into processes that'll work for you in your own life.